Welcome back to your lofty program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development. And when we're talking about national development, it's a matter for us all. You're part of it. You're involved. That is why you are here with us this morning to discuss topical national issues. Issues that affect our well-being, our existence. And for God's sake, we need to look at it closely. We need to look at the challenges. We need to foment solutions. We need to look at advantages. We need to look at disadvantages. And we need to come together as a nation so that we can forge ahead. We have in our hands this morning a topic that is rife, a topic that is scary, a topic that virtually everybody is talking about. What happens if it comes to pass? What happens? What is going to happen? What is the aftermath? What is the domino effect? I'm sure you can guess what I'm talking about. And that is fuel subsidy removal. Advantages and disadvantages. I know you are highly interested in this because it affects us all. Wherever you are, either in the civil service, public service, you're a retired man, or you're this, you're a grandfather, or wherever you are, be it in your village, the aftermath will get to you. And that is why everybody, I repeat, everybody is bothered about what comes to bear in terms of fuel subsidy removal. With me in the studio this morning is my brother, my amiable brother. I don't let go of him on a regular basis. Anytime I call him, if he says he has something to do it, I'll force him. Because we want to share his insightful insights. Welcome to the studio, my brother, Majid Dahiru.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here always.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Like you heard from my intro, fuel subsidy removal. Let's look at the advantages and the disadvantages. And I'd like to tell you this. Don't mince words. Don't be shy of saying it. If you're sure you're saying the truth, show that conviction that you're saying the truth. And that is what I like you for, honestly, on a serious note, that's what I like you for. I don't know where to start, but we're going to start from where we should start.
Yeah.
Let me give you a brief that in terms of oil prices, there has never been a stability here.
Yes.
It's always been a yo-yo. It
Yes.
goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down. And then now it's staring us in the face. I don't know if it's a filler that is being thrown at us, but what we're hearing is there is going to be a subsidy removal. No, give me your insights about that subsidy removal.
Well, the thing is, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with subsidy.
Okay?
Subsidy all over the world is an acceptable government intervention to make life abundant for the people.
That's it.
To guarantee welfare and security.
It's
a fundamental responsibility of government. And so, in most advanced countries, they subsidize education, subsidize housing,
That's right.
subsidize healthcare, they subsidize public transportation system,
Virtually
they
everything.
subsidize, most importantly, agriculture. Billions of dollars are spent by EU countries and the United States of America, including China as well, to subsidize food production
Yes.
in order to guarantee their citizens the basic necessities of life: food, clothing, and shelter. Basic shelter.
Yes.
It's not luxury, it's basic. And so there's nothing wrong with the concept of subsidy.
Okay.
Now, what is wrong with subsidy in Nigeria is, apart from the corruption, is that we are subsidizing wrongly, which is no fault of the citizens,
It's a fault of governance.
the government. And so you shouldn't solve a problem or build a house from the top, start from the foundation.
Of course, yes.
Now, as regards the issue of fuel subsidy, talked about fuel subsidy. Nigeria is an SME-driven economy. We're a country that would not even have sufficient power output to
drive our industries.
Yes, and give us some comfort at home. And so Nigerians rely on petrol for their means of logistics and even means of production generally. Now, anytime you add a naira or a kobo to the price of petrol, it affects everything automatically. It signals a cost-push inflation.
Of course.
And it adds to the economic woes of the people. It depresses our security and our welfare. Now, but what is the way out? Now, you do not subsidize what you have or import what you have. Like I talked about other countries. Yes, they provide subsidies for what they have, in some cases, including petroleum. But that's what most people will not tell you. The production process of fossil fuels is highly subsidized by the US government, the Chinese government, and most European Union governments.
So they can create a balance in the polity.
Because there is a fundamental responsibility for welfare and security. And energy security is one of such that is pivotal to both your welfare and your national security. Energy security. So no country plays with energy security. And energy security is affordability and availability. Not just availability, affordability.
That's right.
Recently, we've seen increase in prices of petrol in the US, which has forced the US government to open their reserves in order to bring down prices.
That's right, yes.
Because they know the implication of a prolonged period of non-affordability of even available petrol. The other time in the UK, we saw unavailability of petrol due to lack of truck drivers.
Truck drivers to move.
The government went into an overdrive to make sure.
Called in the army.
Because you don't play such a thing. It's something that has the capability to destabilize any polity, and no matter how advanced that country is.
That's right.
Somebody plays with us in energy security. Now, in the case of Nigeria, we've been having this problem of having to subsidize imported petrol. Like I said, other countries actually subsidize production at home. But in our case, we're actually subsidizing imported petrol.
Which is the anomaly here.
That is the anomaly, and we're an oil-producing country. And these are the issues we need to address. It's not even the subsidy as an issue. How come we're not able to refine petroleum products at home to satisfy domestic demand and export excess production of?
That's a big question.
So how come we're not able to do this? And I've come up with the idea that seeks to challenge the status quo, the neoliberal status quo, which says that government has no business in business. For me, this was the point at which our productive base became increasingly eroded. All over the world, governments are directly, not indirectly, directly involved in the means of production, even in the most capitalist countries in the world.
They back them up.
In fact, the Washington consensus, there's a lot of pundits bandy around, telling them to hands off means of production and leave it entirely to the private sector. It's not even adhered to in the United States of America, where that consensus was evolved by Bretton Woods institutions. Any government that cannot do business has no business even being in government in the first place. And this is where I think the conversation should start from. It is because of this philosophy, this economic fallacy, that if you observe since 1999, successive administrations have sought to divest their interest in the so-called mid and upstream sector. Mid, upstream, and even downstream.
Of the oil and
for
gas
all the sectors, yes. So that it leaves them to the private sector. And because of this anomaly, not knowing that the private sector alone cannot fill the gap when it comes to this fundamental area of the economy. In fact, there are three areas that the government of Nigeria ordinarily, and any government of any other developing country for that matter, should take not complete, not sole responsibility, but must be present in sufficient
percentages.
Percentages.
Right, checks and balances.
What are these sectors? Energy, petrol, gas, food, power, and iron and steel. Because these are the building blocks.
You're looking at it from the Nigerian perspective.
The Nigerian perspective. Ordinarily, Government is supposed to be running state-owned enterprises.
Which is done all over the world. They call
South
them
Afri-
SOEs.
South Africa's power company is state-owned as we speak, and able to generate 40,000 megawatts for electricity. So Nigeria should have actually reformed government enough to be efficient, to be prudent, to develop the capabilities to run these vital enterprises, while allowing private sector to come in to run side by side.
That's it. That's it. At this juncture, let me. We are enjoying it, and I'm sure Nigerians out there are enjoying what you're saying, because our topic says fuel subsidy removal, advantages and disadvantages. Honestly, you were giving us some advantages about that word in itself, subsidy.
Yes.
A well-performed, well-perfected subsidy is what happens all
over the world.
Subsidy for food, for power, for everything, health, there is subsidy. Let me even make it easy. Let me go elementary. The money that runs the government is our money. The problem we have is how we spend
the money.
Our money. Let me take you back a little bit to, let's say, July 2020, when we said our price of petroleum, let's say PMS, became 143 naira. And then, Garuba Shehu told us that we have removed subsidy, that this administration has done what nobody can do.
Yes. And 2 years later,
you go ahead from there.
we are talking about subsidy. It was not, this is the third time we are talking about subsidy removal. The first was in 2016.
That's right.
When prices was jacked up from 87 naira
to 90.
No, to over 100 naira.
Over 100,
to 145, 143. Aha. And later it was jacked up to the current price. We talked about subsidy removal for the final time. And then
why are we having this yo-yo?
Because the government understands that the moment you move subsidy on importation of petrol, the price will keep going up ad infinitum for two reasons. One,
we don't produce.
We don't produce, so so whenever there is a spike in the price of international crude, it adds to the cost of refining.
That's right.
From Europe and America. Now, but most importantly in our own case, the pressure of importing 19 billion liters of petrol annually,
which is a fallacy in itself, really.
Well, even if it's a fallacy, we import billions
from some quarters.
Yes, but the fact is we consume billions of liters of petrol.
Naturally, yes.
We don't have the exact figure, but well, if a nation continues to import billions of liters of petrol annually to satisfy domestic consumption, the pressure on the naira will make it continuously depreciate against the dollar, which again will add the forex differentials. We continue to add to the landing cost.
Of course, yes.
So it's like tying our energy security to the vulnerabilities of both our weakened naira and foreign exchange with the dollar, and the instability in oil prices in the international market.
Of course.
And so Nigerians will continue to bear the brunt. So when they tried it in 2016 and assumed that, well, if you open it up, other people start importing to come down, these factors make sure that we experienced a cost push. It's like cost must rise as a necessity of all factors considered. So it will keep rising. That is even the danger.
That's the economics of it.
So that's why I had to do a background to why subsidy work can only be contemplated when you have refineries at home working to satisfy domestic demand. So when you remove subsidies, the prices might remain relatively stable for over a period of time, and the jobs created will be home jobs. Yes, the money that's in from subsidy will be kept at home. But the fact is, when you say you are removing subsidy to save money, we are going to now spend all of the money we have as citizens to pay for our own subsidy to keep jobs rolling out in foreign jurisdictions.
Let me spike your brain a little bit. What do you think will happen if we now have subsidy removal and petrol becomes 340?
The country will experience an unprecedented level of social instability, anarchy, something worse than the NSAS protest. It will be suicidal for people to remove subsidy anytime soon. Already Nigerians are choking under galloping inflation, low wages. Nigerians are barely able to feed. I will tell you this, I've not been able to fill my tank since 2006 when the first increase even happened.
You must be joking.
So you can imagine people that are living on minimum wage. I don't live on minimum wage. I earn more than minimum wage.
You're private.
But you can imagine those that are actually living on minimum wage. Look, a professor in the Nigeria University, in case you do not know, sir, earns less than $1,000 per month. If I'll tell you the exact figure that he earns, a professor. I mean, a professor. You know what a professor is?
It's the
The pinnacle
epitome of academia.
A professor earns a gross salary of 501,000 naira. And by the time you deduct taxes,
On a serious note,
I'm saying it on now national TV. And by the time you deduct taxes and other levies, depending on the state where they are working, some professors go home with 360,000. Some go with.
that is abysmal.
And you are asking, and you should imagine how much other category of public servants are earning. I ask them to pay 40 naira for petrol, something that they depend on. It's not about even those who own cars. They will tell you most Nigerians don't own cars, and the fact that most Nigerians actually ride in cars and pay transportation fare.
That's right.
There is no subsidized transportation system. Not even the train station is even the train services are affordable as we speak. It's almost beyond the reach of what you can call the ordinary Nigerian. So public transportation is largely in the hands of private operators who must make profit.
Of course, yes.
So you are talking about paying for you are going to see wages not even able to pay for transport, transportation of workers for more than probably a week after any salary. Just transportation alone. We eat up your 30,000 minimum wage probably in just a week or two. That alone.
But let's look at. You see, I'm a positive thinker. It's good for us to table all the disadvantages, all the challenges that we have on ground. Let's start looking for solutions. And one of the aspects I want to look at is this element of our refineries. Why don't we channel funds into our? It's a shame. I have friends outdoors that would tell me, Mr. Bakari, are you guys nuts?
You don't belabor your. You see, sometimes you are trying to emphasize common sense that made difficult. I do not understand why anybody thinks that the government should not be able to run refineries. I make excuses for government and say government is a bad businessman. And I say no. The government of Saudi Arabia runs Saudi Aramco.
Aramco, yes.
Saudi Aramco in 2018 emerged the world's most valuable company. They have over a dozen refineries in Saudi Arabia. And they have refineries in China. They have the largest refinery in the US. At Port Arthur, Texas.
I know that.
It is an Aramco-operated refinery owned by the Saudi government.
While we cannot even manage
one. So it is not an excuse. The conversation should be now, if a government cannot manage refineries, it should leave. It has no business being in government. China has become our preferred destination for borrowing and trade partnership. China is a state capitalist country. All companies, all foreign investment entities from China are backed by the state. Their financial services are state-owned. Who says government has no business in business?
If well handled and chaperoned.
10 of the leading petroleum and gas companies in the world, including Saudi Aramco, including Chinese National Oil Company, including Petrobras of Brazil, Petronas of Malaysia, in fact, including Gazprom of Russia, are state-owned entities.
Why is it that ours do not work?
This is the conversation. We must begin the question on how to run our representative government, to run vital enterprises that will prevent this situation we have found ourselves in today. Government has business in business. Nigerians must insist. And Nigerians must insist that government, in addition to fixing our four refineries, must construct new ones so that we can become the powerhouse in Africa in terms of petroleum distribution. That alone can bring us enough revenue to take over welfare and security.
Of course.
It is absurd when they tell that petrol is cheaper in Nigeria. I'm a petroleum producing country. And when petrol is expensive around us, it's an opportunity for Nigeria to move in there with cheaper petrol. The same way Chinese will move into Africa with cheaper goods and services, cheaper than the ones that are produced in Nigeria. And they dominate the market.
They run them out of business. They run Nigerians out of business.
Advantage of this opportunity. So subsidy is not even the issue if you ask me. It's our failure.
Productivity level.
It's our failure. And let me tell you this. We've talked about Saudi Arabia, we've talked about China and co. Even in Africa, the refinery in Niger is a joint
Niger
venture
and China.
between the Chinese National Oil Company and the Nigerian National Oil Company. It's not a private enterprise, it's public.
I know, yes.
And you begin to wonder, sir, the Chinese actually founded their own national oil company in 1988. Nigeria founded its own in 1978. And today, the Chinese National Oil Company has gone all over the world, establishing refineries, involving and engaging even in exploration of petroleum, particularly in Chad and some other countries.
Yes.
And in Nigeria as well. And the NNPC has no outstation anywhere in the world. The NNPC cannot manage a single refinery.
What do we do about that? That is a, you say, it's the problem is humongous. Let us start from the brass tacks.
We need to set an agenda for the rebuilding of the Nigerian nation.
You mean us as a people?
As a people. The truth is this.
We are getting it wrong as a people.
Yes, we also have, you see, we are imbued as a people by this tribesman mentality. You see, our democracy hasn't worked. You know why, sir?
Go ahead.
Because it is steep in identity, political ethnicity, and religion. An average Nigerian vote along ethnic and tribal lines.
Because it doesn't have the mentality to think otherwise.
Exactly. And that's why the political parties must come in. Beyond the sloganeering and rhetoric between the PDP and the APC and another political party, we need to begin to mobilize Nigerians to say, hey, enough of this.
Let's move forward.
Let's come together
as a nation.
As a nation. And put our best foot forward into governance, into politics, so that they can begin to run Nigeria along the lines of international best practices.
Of course.
Otherwise, we will have this problem continuously. And let me tell you my fear.
Go ahead.
If they remove subsidy as they're trying to do, because really the government is in a fix, they don't know what to do, it will add to Nigeria's problem of entrenched corruption, insecurity, and economic dislocation. If our economy we move from being dislocated to being completely disjointed, this will aggravate the existing problems. And Nigeria will become a failed state eventually. If there's anything that will accelerate Nigeria's slide to a failed state, is the energy crisis that might likely occur or set in as a result of the removal of subsidy. Because with this, Nigerians will now become self-dependent. We resort to self-help in all affairs of the welfare
and when
security.
that occurs, the
state will lose legitimacy legitimately this time around.
And
it will be a
legitimate
loss of legitimacy because we have not been able to provide security for the majority this time around of your people and as well as their welfare. Nobody will listen to government. Constitutional authority will collapse. Sir, I traveled between Abuja and Benin in a government convoy a few months ago. And what I saw is just a glimpse of what will likely happen when Nigerians become more impoverished than this. Of course, the roads are very bad, dilapidated roads, ditch, gully roads. And so, sometimes we have to follow one way with our siren and our security convoy, or have to go through some internal community roads. Everywhere we went into, we are met with hostility by the Nigerian people. I saw the hatred.
You are looking at, these are the people that are supposed to make
the range of abuses and insults upon us. And when we try to beat, traffic, or maybe try to beat the conundrum by going into the other lane
and using the siren factor,
they are not cooperating. They insult us, they abuse us, and you can't blame them. In fact, at one of our, at a particular spot, we had to actually use some mild force to break through, like a protesting mob. They cited government. They told us it's our fault that this situation happened, and we are not willing to stay and be patient enough. That is the kind of anger
that is boiling, embedded in the average Nigerian, which we should not allow to pop.
Don't aggravate this. I beg this government in the name of God. Rather, let them actually call at this point for me. They can constitute or convene a national dialogue. Like keep Nigerians talking and charting a way forward in line with what
And
we're talking about.
thinking together.
If Nigerians see that, okay, there's an effort now to do a fundamental reconfiguration of the system to avert this, maybe, they might just be patient a little bit. But if the government, as a matter of policy, goes ahead to remove subsidy that is a function of its own fault, cumulatively, all successive governments, not just this one.
That's right.
If they do that, it means they are not abdicating their responsibility, because you know why? While they remove subsidy, you've not cut down cost of governance. Your privileges, your perks, your convoys, your fat salaries, your fat allowances, your security votes, your constitution, you've not cut down on all of those, and you want to cut down on the little we are getting.
The average Nigerian, the everyday Nigerian gets.
So it will portray the government as not just insensitive, but something that comes close to being insanely insensitive.
Let me put in another factor here. Let's talk numbers. The numbers we have on ground says our subsidy for PA is 1.8 trillion. Hypothetically, let's just say, okay, we have removed,
even though we have our reservations,
we have removed subsidy. And the promise here is we are going to give you 5,000 to 40 million Nigerians that has no database, no nothing. And then you're changing 160 others.
Yes. Why should we give 40 and
what remaining 160? And at the same time, 5,000 to 40 million is 2-point-something trillion, as against 1.8 that you're spending on subsidy. Can you please work out that arithmetic for me, because I didn't go to school?
It wasn't a well thought out lie by the government. I'm sure they have said it before they did the calculation. So they're like Rumbo, the fired first before thinking about how to aim accurately. So it is clearly a...
To use your language, it's not a case of being, what did you say? About being disjointed or total?
It's like, when you say something before thinking about it, because you don't intend to do it. And back to the issue of subsidy. A lot of people have argued that subsidy is corrupt. It's not my responsibility to fight corruption in government. I voted a government.
It is their duty to deliver.
You don't because of your so-called corruption and university fight corruption to now punish me. It's not my business. I have no business with that. I'm a citizen. Mine is to be law abiding and not partake in the corruption. That is my responsibility as a citizen. It's not my duty.
You are challenging the government that you have a duty to me.
We are paying you so much. We are spending so much to maintain you in government. Think
and deliver.
Act and deliver. Stop abdicating responsibility. Stop throwing back to me. If you cannot, then leave that place and allow me to take your place.
It's just like the parents. If you cannot help me, leave me as I am.
As I am. And so we need to rethink this issue. So it's not about the subsidy. And I've heard some people say, in Nigeria, subsidy is subsidizing consumption and not production. And I just laugh at such people. It's laughable. When I drive my car to this place to engage in this productive activity, I drove on petrol.
Of course.
That is productivity.
Yes.
When I drive to go and do a task that earns me money, that is part of the cost of production. So I don't understand why anybody will imagine that subsidizing petrol is consumption. I don't drink petrol. It's not that.
It's used in productivity.
It's not a leisure thing, no. Sir, I don't like driving by my nature. If I can sit down at home and work all day at home, I don't drive. I don't like driving. No. It's not a hobby for me. So I don't think people just get up and fill their tank and just drive around the town and waste it for consumption, for pleasure purposes.
No.
I don't think so. So it is an insult on our collective sensibility for anybody to say that subsidizing petroleum in Nigeria is subsidizing consumption. I don't know where that person comes from. I don't know the textbook is.
Must be an alien, right?
I don't know. So petrol is a means of production in Nigeria.
Of course.
So subsidizing it at this level is still subsidizing productivity and production. It's not consumption. Nobody wants to be in a carbon monoxide infested environment. Nobody wants to be in that. We're not enjoying it. Nobody's enjoying it, but it's a necessity. And that's why the moment you touch it, you add a carbon, you add a naira.
The domino effect will be huge.
The next plate of food, the next time you go for a plate of food is increased because it's not the person's fault. Everything runs on petrol. Why can't people just think? Especially those that are in government. What is difficult here? We've given examples of other countries, far and wide. In Africa, one of the most successful airlines, Ethiopia Air, is state-owned.
It's subsidized, to use the proper
Subsidized
word.
for their citizens, and it is state-owned, and it's been running for more than 5 decades.
Let me run you another curve. Diesel and kerosene cost in the range of 200 thereabouts.
Yes.
Can you kind of give me a parity
Yes.
between the cost of diesel and, honestly, diesel runs more of productivity than PMS?
In terms of heavy industry.
Heavy industry.
Thank you very much.
Heavy duty
As at the
transportation.
time they deregulated diesel and then remove subsidy from it and allow people to just import freely, the price has gone up since then and keeps going, has never come down. As we speak, there was a recent increase in the price of diesel. And that is why industries in Nigeria are running aground and are not competitive.
Because the cost of production is beyond
Because
normal.
of the high price of diesel. People think because diesel was deregulated and is available means that has guaranteed any form of energy security. No.
It does not guarantee production.
It is not
enough for it to be
affordable.
tenable.
It is not. And the price is still going up. Look at kerosene. No, but no sensible human being again can use kerosene.
They don't.
Of what uses kerosene? Gas, until recently, was cheaper than kerosene.
Of course, yes.
It tells you that anytime government does this same policy on any item, it goes up and never comes down, and it keeps going up. And people begin to shift to find alternatives. They want to do the same thing in PMS now. And we're looking for alternatives to PMS. But I say we should start using CNG powered engines.
What is the production level of the CNG that we have?
For God's sake. So by the time you do the same thing we've done in diesel and kerosene for petrol, we will experience the same thing, and it will be worse because more people actually use petrol. For example, not everybody can afford a big diesel engine to run their homes or industries.
Yes.
Some people use small generators. So
Which
it will have
runs
even
on
more
PMS.
dominion effect on a larger number of people than even the diesel.
Thank you, my brother. I would like us to take, let's just go ahead and take a quick commercial break here. From our discussion so far, and I'm sure you've enjoyed it, we've been able to tell ourselves the gospel truth that subsidy, as a word, as a format, there is nothing wrong with it. Inasmuch as the subsidy that is coming from government is encapsulated in SOEs. SOE means state-owned enterprises. But unfortunately, our own state-owned enterprises are not performing. The greatest of which is our NNPC and inherent refineries. We have 4 of them, Kaduna, Warri, and 2 in Port Harcourt. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us, for God's sake? You, the powers that be, always remember one thing. It is by virtue of our votes that you are there. It is by virtue of our monies that you are spending them. So why don't you spend our funds appropriately? Like my brother here said, the moment we shy away from some very, very cogent factors like food security, energy security, even productivity security, we are in problem. That is why, between my brother and I, it's not just us saying it as is. We are trying to tell the government and the powers that be, it's high time you do something that is on a global scale. Don't let us think Nigerian this time. We are not alone. Let's think global. Let's learn lessons. There is something called in engineering reverse engineering. That is, you copy and then you improve. What have we copied lately? Nothing. What have we improved on? Nothing. Like my brother here said again, he said, if we continue with this, if this should come to pass, there is going to be serious anarchy, there is going to be serious unrest, there is going to be serious everything. Let me say it in primary tax. If that happens, inflation will be in the region of 200 to 400%.
Or more.
Or more, like it, or more. Right now, we are finding it difficult to eat. If me, as an average person, I call myself an average in Nigeria, is finding it difficult to eat. What about my everyday people that are below my level? I'll tell you this for free. Little wonder we have insecurity on our hands. A man that is hungry is a depressed man, is an angry man, is a man that is in the devil's, not even workshop, in the devil's classroom. And the next thing he's going to do is going to be something that is highly negative. My brother, give us your closing shots.
You see, as Nigerians, we must pull together. This government is helpless.
So they need all of us right now as we speak.
We need a pan-Nigerian consensus, a people's consensus about some basic elements of nation building for the collective purpose, for the purpose of our collective welfare and security. We have collectively been on a wrong trajectory. And I'm saying we're a democracy.
That's right.
We must.
But are we practicing democracy?
We are not practicing democracy. Any democracy based on identity politics is not a democracy.
It's monkey business.
It's monkey business. We must break down the barriers of ethnicity and religion and unite as a people.
And forget about who you are, what your name is, or what it says.
For a pan-Nigerian strategy for integrated national development for the purpose of global competitiveness.
Of course.
We must put this in process towards the next election cycle. And to drive this process, we need a nationalistic leadership, political leadership, that can unite us and galvanize us towards the right destination.
All right.
China had Mao Zedong. Saudi Arabia had Abdulaziz bin Saud.
Yes. There was something the man did some time ago. No, let's leave that out of it. When he married every tribe, just to unite.
To unite the Saudi people when it was founded in 1932. That is a very young country. King Saud had to marry from every single tribe of Arabia in his domain, 25 of them, in order to bring about social cohesion and unity.
So that every tribe will have a prince.
Had a prince. And the succession was from brother to brother among his sons. I'll tell you
Let's translate that to our own cohesion.
We need a Nigerian leader for Nigeria. Not a Yoruba, not a Hausa, not an Igbo, not a
Nigerian. He has to be a total Nigerian.
Somebody who can speak all languages with ease. Somebody who understands that there is no difference between the Yoruba man and the Hausa man and the Igbo man. And that if he marginalizes a Yoruba man because he is Hausa, he is marginalizing himself. Who understand that if you hate anybody based on ethnicity and religion within the Nigerian nation, you are actually embarking of self-hate. And it is this self-hate that has escalated into poverty, economic disjointment, and insecurity, as we say today. So we need somebody who understands that we need to judge each other, we need to assess each other by the content of our character and our individual capabilities, not ethnicity and religion or geography of origin. And if you institute an egalitarian society where fairness, equity, and justice reigns, all of us, like water, will find our level in our respective areas of competence, and our individual economies will improve.
Thank you very much. To you, our viewers, that has been my brother Majid Dahiru. Now you can understand why I force him on a regular basis to come on here and share his insightful insights with us.
Thank you very much. A pleasure always.
You always be welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
And to you, my fellow Nigerians, the last word is this. I normally use one analogy. Look at my hand. I have 5 fingers. They are flexible as it is. If I hit something with this, I'll probably break 1 finger. But if I do this, it becomes a fist. What my brother is saying is, it's high time we come together and form a fist. Forget that you are a northerner, you are a southerner, you are this, you are that. Forget your religion. And think. This is for you, our brothers that are in governance. Start thinking like Nigerians. Don't think along your ethnic lines. Don't think along religious lines. Think as a Nigerian. And like he said, if you think a man from the south is being hurt, that is from somewhere else, you're part of the hurt too.
Yes.
Let me make this simple. There is an analogy for us. The insecurity we share in Nigeria now, does it have a connotation? No. It bothers every one of us. It bothers every one of us. So let us develop that concise, collective attitude towards making Nigeria a better place. Like our lofty program says, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development. I keep saying this. National development is a collective situation. My brother, I would like to say one big thank you
very
for
much,
it.
sir. It's a pleasure.
One big thank you for
so
coming on
much,
air.
sir.
One big
very
thank you. And to you, our viewers out there, don't go away. The program continues shortly with our newspaper review. You don't have to buy all the newspapers. Just stick to ITV and you're rest assured you'll get the gist of some newspapers. Don't go away.